we are. There we went. Here we go. Man.
I was muted. I forgot to unmute. I thought this automatically unmuted me. I don't know what happened.
We are months into the current situation. I feel like managing mute should be second nature by now.
Like, that's such rookie stuff for me right there. That is a rookie mistake. Like, Eddie, okay. Eddie's only been on a couple times now, but me, come on, Adam. Get it together.
You could just do like me. I just never mute. So
which has its pluses and minuses, right? There's a lot of pros and cons there.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes my dog joins the show, but I forget who it was. There was some startup that, for their new Zoom culture, they basically have a rule that said if your dog barks, you have to show it. So I thought that was really cool.
I was on a Kubernetes call earlier for Kubernetes org, and someone was like, "Oh, I have a question," and their dog barked in the background. And he goes, "Oh, my dog has a question too, I guess."
It's awesome. But yeah, what are we going to look at today? What are we going to talk about?
Rumor has it we're going to be talking about. We're going to do an unboxing. Right.
Yeah.
Hashicorp's one of their newly announced services, Waypoint.
Yeah. When I saw the Waypoint announcement, I thought that looks really cool. We should look at that because it's not 100% a container tool. Like when you look at their documentation and stuff like that, they don't even really say the word container much, if ever. But at the same time, it certainly works with containers, and it can help you manage applications in your container ecosystem. So yeah, I think we should always look at it.
Yeah, and I think one of the highlights that sticks out to me with Waypoint is that you have one tool now. Like, you can use this one tool to orchestrate across multiple orchestrators, environments. Like, it really does kind of branch out from just a single point of focus, which is really cool.
Totally.
My favorite part about that is how extensible it is.
Yeah.
If it's, I've been digging into the plugin architecture a bit, and it's pretty similar to how they did it with Terraform. It's all basically how the plugins work is they're individual binaries that get spun up, and then they communicate via gRPC to the main process. And it's like super extensible, and you can build a plugin or provider for whatever you want.
Nice. Well, wow, we got a lot of people in chat saying hi. So let's give some shout outs. Mini Jerome, here we go. That's how I know.
Cube Jerome.
Exactly. That's how I know it's Cube Jerome. Why is Bob not allowed? You were too busy rocking. Here we go. Yeah. If you know us, then you know that while that song's playing, we're in the background, just totally dancing away. Chilaxathor, hello. I like your avatar too, by the way. That's pretty funny. Hey Saptac, good to see you. Always a party. Yeah, it's awesome. Bfrosty7, I like that little avatar too. That's kind of cool. Hey everyone, how are you guys? Doing well. Good to see you. Welcome to the show. Sathya, good to see you. Hey. And look who we have back, Techie Stories.
Welcome back.
Long time no see. We've had a lot of security episodes, Techie Stories. You need to get caught up.
ContainersFromTheCouch.com. Check it out.
Yes. Sathya says, been trying to wrap my head around Waypoint. Looking forward to this. W. Shari, hi folks. Hi, Adam, Brent, all. Good to see you. Welcome back. Boat Joe, good evening. Like your cat. That's I love that avatar too. And then we got highs from, I'm just gonna say, Flight. Is that a squirrel playing a trombone? That can't be real.
It's kind of awesome. I'll take
it. I don't know how to pronounce that either, but hey back. Matt
Just don't make the mistake I made that one time where I pronounced an inappropriate name.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
I'm
Not
trying
saying
to
any of
be.
these are.
I'm trying to be careful. Oh wow.
Kind of
I'm
a big
glad
deal.
Mitchell saw my tweet. I added him.
Wow, that's awesome. Saw your tweet. I'm lurking in case you need me to answer any questions. Won't be around the whole time, but if I'm around, I'm happy to answer any questions you throw my way. Holy cow.
Cool.
Thank you. That's amazing.
Thanks for merging my PRs, Mitchell.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't know, that's assuming this is accurate. That's Mitchell Hashimoto, Hashicorp CEO, right? Or founder for sure. Yeah.
Co-CTO, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
CTO.
Nice. Yeah. That's awesome.
Assistant to the regional CTO.
Nice. Now we can't say anything bad. Thanks for making PRs. There we go. CTO. Nice. Yo, guys. And whoa.
Well, look, now
yeah.
Now that Mitchell's here, I feel like we need to get into it.
We do.
Let's build some cool stuff.
I think it's time. Who wants to start? I don't know. I can start, or
I was trying to go for a high five.
Nice.
Oh, wait, it's this side.
It's always opposite. Remember, it's always opposite.
All right, I guess I'm getting selected. Also, we have Mishra in the chat. Build 1.0. Mishra is a developer advocate at Hashicorp as well. So.
Oh, cool.
Nice. Very cool.
All right, so I guess I'll start. I have my screen being shared.
Yeah. Let's get over to that. There we go.
Well, so I was actually really stoked when I saw this drop. Having worked on some Terraform providers before, I imagined how extensible this was going to be, and it's definitely very extensible and has me very excited. For those of you that haven't seen the announcement yet, Waypoint was a brand new open source tool launched out of Hashicorp last week. I believe it was either Wednesday or Thursday, on day 2 of virtual HashiConf. And it's a high-level abstraction for deploying applications to the cloud. And it has different mechanisms and plugins that you can use to deploy to something like EC2, Kubernetes, Nomad, ECS. And so I'm going to jump in and show a demo of using this with ECS in a bit. But there's a few cool different components to this Waypoint file here. And I'm sure I have an example of one somewhere. There we go. So this is basically what a Waypoint file is going to look like. If you're not familiar with the syntax, this is HCL. So we have a couple declarative, what do we call these? Resources, attributes, namespaces, directives. These are some directives, right? So we have an app directive. It names our project that we're using, tosses some labels on there. And so this basically can get serialized to YAML or JSON, right? At the end of the day, it's a higher level configuration language. And so there's these 2 main steps in here that we can see, the build step and the deploy step. And so these are, like I said earlier, these are super extensible. You can plug in different builders. You can plug in different deploy plugins. By default, this is the example project out here from the, I think it's github.com/hashicorp/waypoint-examples. And this is the ECS Node.js example. And so we can see in this build step here that it's actually using a tool called Packer. Anyone used Packer before in the chat? It's a really cool tool that lets you bundle applications with cloud native build packs. Oh, you both have used. I know you've done videos before. I've seen those. You want to give a quick overview of Packer?
Well, I don't think we've done a Packer video, but I used it way back when it was super early, and I would use that as my AMI building workflow.
Yep.
So yeah, like before I was using containers, before containers were cool to use. Yeah, I was building and releasing AMIs
Yeah,
Sorry,
but
this is
you're
a
treating
different.
them like containers because your infrastructure was immutable, right?
Correct. Exactly. Now you're talking about build packs.
Yeah, so
right?
sorry, I see the confusion. There is a Hashicorp tool called Packer, which I made the mistake of saying. This is actually using build packs. There's a CLI command called pack, so facepalm for that one. But this basically will go out and use cloud native build packs to build up your applications into Docker containers. And I think by default it uses some of the awesome Heroku build packs, which are magnifique. They do a great job of getting your application, everything it needs to run, detecting the language. And so that's what's plugged in here by default, is it's going to use Packer to build our image, or a pack. I got to make sure that distinction is said.
Yeah.
Uses pack. And so then we can plug in a registry. So basically, this is like an input-output type thing, right? So pack will output a Docker image. A registry accepts a Docker image. And in this case, we're using the ECR plugin. I've specified my region, my repository name. You do have to create this repository name. And so this is all the configuration we need outside of configuring your AWS CLI credentials to build and push a container up to ECR. So really cool.
Yes, just for 1 second, I just want to dissect that. So in this build step, we're building a Docker image. The only thing we really needed to create here was our repository in ECR. That's pretty much it. And then as you go down to the steps, once you get to deploy, now specifically speaking to the ECS piece, what level of opinionated building does Waypoint do versus the amount of building that I would have to do? Does that make sense?
You phrase that again?
Yeah. So does, like, on the deploy step, is it going to deploy an ECS cluster? You know, what level of heavy lifting does Waypoint take care of? How much does it do?
Waypoint, so like I said, the registry you do have to create right now, that could actually be completely configured, easily changed to create a repo if we wanted that functionality in there. But for deploy, it will actually create a cluster. So by default, it will create an ECS cluster named Waypoint. And it's all documented actually in these plugins. Here, I'll drop this into chat. And so this is the ECS plugin documentation. And you can see here for the builders, right now you can either use the straight Docker builder or the pack, the cloud native build packs. And here's that registry interface. And here's all the bits that you can configure. So region, repository, tag. Again, this is all extensible, right? So if we decide that maybe we do want the ability to create a repository, that's something we could try to implement or PR. And then for the ECS platform instance, so this is where you're looking at your deployment. And so this actually has tons of configuration. So we can specify the ALB that will get created, the cert that we want, the domain name for Route 53, all the different bits, how many of them, right? So extremely extensible. And what's really cool is, I don't want to squirrel too much into this, but all of this is backed by protos, right? So if you're not familiar with protobufs, it's a serialization over the wire format built out of Google, and they have an RPC mechanism called gRPC that's very popular in the cloud native world for kind of sending this over the wire. And when you have protobufs, you can actually, let me blow this up a bit. So if we look at the ECS proto that's defined here in the source repo, this is basically what a proto is. It's just a high-level abstraction. We can declare a message of deployment, a message of release, toss a couple properties on here and attributes. And so this will actually get compiled out into a full-blown Go library almost, right? So this is a high-level package that's built out, and you don't have to write any of this code, and you can immediately work with these protos. So that's how this is working under the hood, and it's actually really neat how this works. Also, you can compile to any language, basically, but by default, it's doing Go here. So where were we? You had questions.
Yeah, I'm looking for it again. There was one question. Can you compare it to, there it is. Can you give another product or OSS software as a Waypoint competitor? And it's interesting. I can't think of a direct comparison, but I can tell you what it's not, if that makes sense. like if you're going to compare this to something, you might be tempted to compare it to Kube Control or kubectl or kubectl, however you like to say it, or you might be tempted to compare it to Copilot. Those are tools that help you build and deploy out onto a specific target, whether it's Kubernetes or ECS or something like that. This, on the other hand, doesn't really do. I mean, it does it, but it's the whole point of this existing is to give you the same experience, whether you're deploying to your local Docker, daemon, or out to ECS or out to Kubernetes. And that kind of changes the whole game a little bit because now your developer doesn't have to actually care where this is being deployed to, or think about it or know about it or have to understand that syntax or anything like that. In fact, back it up another step, they don't even have to understand that they're deploying a container. They're just writing their code and then they're saying, deploy, release, or that kind of thing. And whatever is defined here in this HCL is what ends up happening.
Yeah, knowing that there is a precursor to this project from Hashicorp actually called the Auto project, and Waypoint definitely drew on a lot from Auto. But it's definitely improved in a lot of sense. But yeah, I agree with you. There's not much else out there. So.
Yeah.
And there was mention of the tag using latest. I don't know if we mentioned that, but Mitchell did mention that you could actually just pass in git ref pretty and you'll have a nice git hash there instead of latest, which, as we all can agree, don't use latest, but it's a demo.
Right. Exactly.
So, I'm so glad we have Mitchell here. All right, so cool. That's enough talk. Let's actually just jump into getting it working.
Yeah, let's see it.
Well, I have Docker running on my local machine here. And so Waypoint works with a server architecture. So we actually have to set up our local Docker daemon with that server. And I believe the command to do that is just Waypoint, let's see, I think it's Waypoint install. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
So Waypoint install platform Docker, accept the terms of service. So this is going to set up some volume, some networks in my local Docker daemon. You can obviously deploy this to a remote server so your team can use it.
Right.
And that should be good. And so we can take a look at the UI real quick. You can see where I was building and working on this over the weekend. Delete this path. There we go. So we have, by default, we get a nice UI built up. Here we can see all of our projects and deployments. And so are we laughing at Justin?
I'm laughing at Justin because I've never actually even thought about it that way, but that is kind of true.
So once we have our server set up, all we have to do is go to our project where our HCL is, and we can do initialization. And so this is going to kind of set up the project here in our dashboard. Let me go bigger. You can take a look at it. We don't really have any builds, deployments, or releases yet. And so let's make one. And so the command that you really want to get familiar with is just waypoint up, right? And so this goes back to what Brent was saying about, you don't have to know where you're deploying necessarily or that you're building a container. The goal is for everyone to understand the command of like waypoint up to do a build. And that does a build, deploy, and does everything for you. So if we run this, we're seeing that it's using that pack client, not Packer. It's downloading a build pack. So you can see the Heroku build packs 18 here. And so this is going to go out and nowhere did I specify this was a Node.js project. So the build packs will actually detect this, which is cool. So it looks for like a package JSON. So you can see it. Notice it's doing a node build pack. So it's running.
Okay, that's really cool.
Yeah, pack is pretty great.
It auto detects the language and starts building it, and it gives you an artifact. And I don't know if you can open another terminal in that same directory, but just show everyone there's no Docker file.
There is no Docker file. There is a proc file, and this is kind of specific to Heroku/Foreman, which is really how this actually runs.
Foreman, wow.
Have you used Foreman before?
That's an oldie.
Yeah.
But a goodie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Heroku's still using Foreman under the hood to start up their thing. So it's a pretty nifty gem. And so that's what this proc file is. It kind of just tells the entry point to our application. So we're building. Now we're pushing up to my ECR registry.
Mitchell wants to point out the excessive amount of work that went into this this command line UI thing, and I was noticing that too. I was like, oh, it's about to scroll off my screen when I was messing around with it, and then it didn't. It just kind of like stopped at the bottom and started buffering the lines. That was kind of cool. There is
a big there's a UI package in here somewhere. Where it shows the terminal has an implementation of the UI. It's really cool. So
yeah. And build 1.0 says Waypoint can work without the server too. Some of the trade-offs are that you can't use commands like Waypoint logs and Waypoint exec, which is kind of cool. It's worth having that server running. I'm guessing, would it also prevent you then from like sharing there's a really cool URL feature that Waypoint gives you. And I want us to show that off too. But what I discovered, and it wasn't obvious when I was reading about this, is that URL is public. You can actually like send that to us, and once you have your process running, we can all go visit your website at that URL.
Cool. So we're actually done with our deploy. All right. So let's walk through everything that happened. So we had that image being pushed to ECR, and then here we see it walk through. So someone asked if you can use this with your existing AWS environment. Absolutely. You can specify your own cluster. You can specify your own ALBs if you're using an ALB. All of that is configurable right now.
Certificates, right? That was also, I believe, something.
Yeah, and that was part of this URL service. Is you get an endpoint that there's, if you wanted to specify for your own domain an ACM certificate, you can do that. But if you're just messing around, like notice that release URL actually, is there something below? Can you scroll down a little bit? The deployment URL. You see how it's just a 3-word random .waypoint.run? That is encrypted using Let's Encrypt, and it's something that it looks like it shouldn't really be valid, but it totally is. You can open it on your computer, and we can actually all visit that site to see what's running there. There are restrictions around that. There's some rate limiting and stuff like that. So don't expect to do that in production or anything. But if you're working with a remote team or something, and you just want to say, hey, here it is, check it out, someone else would be able to visit that and see it running.
Or even in like pull request automation, perhaps.
As long as it stays running, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, boom, here we go. Created ECS cluster. IAM role, did all the jazz for us, ALB listener, created the service, right? So this took care of all that orchestration with that minimal config. The defaults are pretty sane out of the box. And like you were pointing out, we have our actual release URL that's pointing to our ALB. And then I had to check this because I thought that this was using Docker's DNS under the hood to set this up. But I think you're right. I think this is actually pointing to the ALB.
Can you paste that in chat, and we'll just have our audience visit it.
Actually, that one didn't work. Maybe Mitchell or Mishra can explain that one.
Well, that's the ALB. That'll definitely work.
Yeah, that one came up. The other one did not come up. Waypoint.run.
Oh, it was coming.
So there might be a configuration we need to do there. I had assumed that this was setting like DNS to my local resolver, but it doesn't look like it's doing that.
No, it was working for me when I was testing this. I was actually going back and forth from my Cloud9 to my local laptop.
Nice.
Could it potentially be this? Oh.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Okay, so if I had ngrok or something, I could expose that and we could play with it for right now.
We're doing it live.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Techie Stories.
So that's pretty much the run through for ECS. Super straightforward, super quick. We can see in here, we look at the service, we'll see that cluster that was created. And we see we have an active service with the task running. ALB was wired up. Like we said, we can, if I didn't do this locally, we could configure that to work over an actual TLS connection really easily. So I'm pretty sure that's the ECS demo. Really easy.
Yeah. All right. So let me jump in then. Let's see. Is this my screen now? Yeah, it looks like my screen. All right, cool. So,
and for those who are concerned, Brent has a new MacBook, so it won't blow up.
Yeah, but I just realized I don't have Cloud9 open. But it's ready. It's good to go. And here's my terminal. So I wanted to mess around with EKS, but then also just the local Docker experience and see what that's like. And to do that, I was just following their tutorial here, which is what Eddie did. So we can skip over the introduction to Waypoint and see how you install Waypoint, which Eddie did already. And let's validate, and I've done already, Waypoint. And you see that's working for me. Let me make this bigger. How's that? This is so new. I don't even have my shell set up to do anything fancy yet.
I see the default "Oh my Zeesh" prompt in there.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So the whole point of Waypoint seems to be that you can use it the same. The experience is the same wherever you're using it. So let's actually test that out. We saw what the experience was like when Eddie was using ECS, but what if you're just wanting to, you're a developer and you're wanting to run your service locally on Docker? So I've cloned the Waypoint examples also, and let's cd into the Ruby example. And then I've already done this, but let's just make sure that it's pulled. And then we'll install it to Docker. So install platform Docker. I've already done that. And then initialize the Waypoint application. So this is a Ruby application. I believe Eddie was the Node.js application. And let's Waypoint init. So this is going to validate the Waypoint HCL. Uh-oh. Is this because
Is your Waypoint server running?
Waypoint install. Oh.
Do a Docker ps-a.
Yeah, I think I need to remove.
Yeah, exit it. Delete it. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you. So reinstalling the Waypoint server.
So it sounds like because that one step failed, maybe we have to go back a couple steps.
So we can do this real quick and easy. If you just do Docker PSA again, well, let's make sure we delete that server. Yeah, delete that real quick.
You could prune. It's new. You don't have much there.
I ran through this many times when I was making PRs over the weekend.
Docker stop Waypoint -server, Docker RM Waypoint server, Docker volume RM Waypoint server.
They got it for you to copy paste.
I got to tell you, every time we do a show, we should just have the Hashicorp folks in the chat because they are responsive and on it.
That's funny because I walked through it and then I did destroy and assumed that would, destroy everything.
Oh, interesting.
All right. So we got the Waypoint server back up and running. So then when we Waypoint init, that initialized the project. We're good to go. And then just like what Eddie did to get it up and running, Waypoint up. And again, just like before, we see it's doing the build pack build, and then it's going to deploy into our Docker daemon, running locally. So this is just Docker desktop on the Mac.
Does anyone know if pack requires Docker to run? I think it does. I think it's actually, have you heard of the Docker build X yet? With the build context?
Yeah. And we've poked at that on the show, but I don't keep it turned on. So yeah, there we go.
Yep.
Nice. The Docker build X context, I think it's the new, they're going to promote it eventually, but it actually creates isolated Docker build environments, which is really cool because you can separate, and the idea would be to use like your Docker daemon as a remote builder, and everyone can have their own context. So there's sandboxing and really neat.
Yeah, and it could do like some of the layers in parallel as long as there aren't dependencies. All right, so I think this is probably what I was thinking of. When I opened this URL, you see I get the Ruby on Rails app that was deployed with Waypoint. But if you take this URL and go over to a different machine altogether and curl it, you can still get your running application. So if I post this here in chat, I believe everyone would be able to click that and get to this application. And if we wanted to see, let's get back to my terminal, Waypoint logs. If people are clicking on it, then
I think you have like 100 simultaneous connections happening right now.
I was kind of expecting to see that show up in the logs. Oh, there we go. And we're probably, again, they want you to rate limit and stuff, so you don't want to use this in production. So notice now I'm getting 502 bad gateway, so that's probably the rate limit. But anyway, for sharing and for getting, working with a remote team, this is pretty awesome. Yeah. Yeah, this is the fast laptop, Justin. It is. It's so slow. But yeah, this is really cool. I love how this is just built in, and you don't have to really do anything to make it work. So, and then if you wanted to go and change, let's see here. So I forgot. I have actually already changed the text locally, but let's change it again. Let's see what happens. So we're gonna vim and try making a change to this text locally.
Default vim config.
I know, I haven't had time. I'm telling you, this is that new.
How do you know your CPU and memory? Like how? Come on.
The fact that it hasn't cratered tells you it's the new computer. So while we're let's go ahead and build that. I was actually wondering with build packs, part of the thing that Docker gives you is layer caching, and when you're building, if you just change your code and you build again, you should probably only have to build that one layer again. Now this is Ruby, so everything about it's going to be slow, but it does look like there's still some caching happening with this build, but I can't tell since I don't see the Docker file or have a Docker file. I can't see like at what point there might be some caching versus not.
And so again, are you going to now take this once you're done locally? Are you going to then progress to a different environment like Kubernetes?
Yeah, then we're going to go do the exact same thing, but over in Kubernetes. So remind me that I'll probably need to clean some stuff up there too. Cool. So I got a V2 endpoint this time. Let me make sure that wasn't the, last time it was the V1 endpoint. So I will have actually 2 versions running at the same time. So Brent was here in the V2 version. And if you still wanted to like compare it to V1, go back to the V1 version. There was the V1 version. So I think that's really awesome. And again, exact same workflow, exact same experience that that we saw with Eddie.
I mean, that was really easy.
Yeah,
it was really easy. I would be curious, and obviously we don't have to do this now, but I would be curious just to see with a Docker file what that experience is like.
Yeah,
compared to build packs.
We could dive into that on another show probably.
Yeah.
All right. So now I'm on a Cloud9 instance, and here I have Kubernetes running. If we get all, it looks like I do have the Waypoint server running right now. I left that up and running because it provisions an ALB or an ELB. I didn't actually go look to see which it is. Either way, it provisions a load balancer, which we all know takes a little bit of time. So I went ahead and left that running. Let's just walk through and see what that is like.
I think EKS by default will do a classic ELB.
Yeah, and I just didn't go validate that they weren't changing that. But yeah, that's what I would expect. Okay, so deploying a Waypoint application to Kubernetes. So this one we're gonna go use the Node.js application.
And that there are just
there we go.
People are posting. There are a lot of Dockerfile examples. There are Dockerfile examples, just so everyone knows.
Perfect. Okay, so following the EKS instructions, there's a walkthrough of, provision your EKS cluster, use Terraform if you want, use the console if you want. I actually provisioned mine. I just happen to have one sitting around that I use for the workshop, for EKSworkshop.com. So I had that available, and I created my ECR repository already, just like Eddie did. And then I installed the Waypoint server, and I initialized Waypoint. Actually, that is at the app level. So let me do that again. Project initialized, and then Waypoint up. Looks familiar, right? I mean, think about it from the perspective of, you're onboarding a new developer. It's their first day and you want to get them set up. Waypoint up, right? That's really what you have to pay attention to, and what you have to worry about is just getting them the ability to run Waypoint up, and everything else takes care of itself.
Do you know, does EKS configure pull secrets for ECR automatically?
Say that again?
Does EKS configure the Docker pull secrets so your EKS cluster can pull from your ECR registry automatically?
No, but I may have set EKS control to allow the instance to pull from ECR. But yeah, that appears to be working, so that's probably what I did. But no, it doesn't configure the secrets automatically. And so you can see that we have completely enough Dove v3 Waypoint run, running here, Node.js app deployed with Waypoint using my custom code. That's awesome.
Was this one local too, or is this one?
This one is running out on an EKS cluster that I was managing with my Cloud9 instance.
That's pretty awesome. So
it's pretty great.
We've literally deployed to ECS, we've deployed locally, we've deployed to EKS, all using one tool and
the same workflow.
Yeah.
Yep. Same experience. So if you wanted to see logs, Waypoint logs, and it doesn't matter where it's running, it's that command every time. This is the wrong URL for that example. Oh, here's another one. If you want to exec into the container that's running, so waypoint exec bin bash, and look, now I'm inside that container. And again, I don't have to know that it's running on Kubernetes. I don't have to have, I don't have to like understand kube control. If we go back to Docker and want to do the same thing, waypoint exec.
This is ridiculous right here. Like there's no more having to know a tool for each service to exec in. Like, it's just one entry point. That is fantastic.
Yeah. And
Can
Justin
you open up your
really,
web UI?
Oh yeah. Let's see. I forgot. What's the command to do that?
It's UI-authenticate.
So this is the one that's running locally with my Ruby application. And check it out. You can see
we can't
see.
Oh, 1 second. Let me. You're right. Wrong monitor.
And actually, there is Justin brings up a point where he says, I'm assuming exec doesn't work with ECS. I would be curious to hear from the Hashicorp folks. Does exec work with ECS?
Yeah. And then even more specific, well, I guess ECS in this particular case is ECS Fargate. So yeah, I'd be curious to know that too. I didn't actually look at that. So yeah, this is my Ruby application running. We can see latest deployments. We can see the releases. We can see the logs. It does. You can, nice. You can exec into a Fargate container with this. Wow. That's pretty great. Eddie, do you still have yours running?
I do. I'm getting a no available instances for exec message. Let me see. Right, you ran exec bin bash, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder.
And
the web UI.
So Justin actually asks, or is there a custom shim or a init? And when I was poking around inside the container, yeah, there was a custom entry point, a waypoint entry point that was used. And so that must be what would enable that.
This is cool. It looks like it's not implemented yet, but you'll be able to do the execs right from the web UI as well.
Oh, that's cool. So it's the same problem as the URL service. The workload needs to be able to communicate with the Waypoint server. So did you deploy your Waypoint server to Fargate also, or did you deploy it locally?
No, it's deployed locally.
Ah, that's it. I think in each of my cases, I have Waypoint server local plus workload local, or Waypoint server in Kubernetes plus workload.
Okay. Right, I'll set up Cloud9 in the background.
Nice. So let's SapTech looks so much like the well-loved Vagrant experience. This is huge. Yeah, I agree. This is really cool. I'm pretty sure it does work because yep, good call. The entry point allows for it. And
so when you deploy a Waypoint server, so this is something like, is HA built in? Is it just a single container? Like what's the best practice there?
For the Waypoint server, it looks like it's a stateful server, and there's one of them running, and that's even more of a reason to deploy it out to your orchestrator, because then if it goes away, it'll come right back. the orchestrator can take care of bringing it back. I don't know if it would be possible. Maybe someone on the Hashi team could talk about, if it would be a good or a bad idea to run 2 copies of it just in case. But because it's stateful, that at least gives me pause and makes me think that it might be a bad idea.
Oh, I'm getting Cloud9 errors. You can cut away.
That's all right. So we're gonna take everyone's word for it that it would work with Fargate. Also, makes perfect sense. It was just the way that we happen to deploy it for this demo isn't conducive to that. And Mitchell says single process currently vertically scaled in K8 ECS style environments. Very easy to keep healthy by just making it a single process stateful set type thing. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And it's the kind of thing that if it happens to be gone for a few seconds, then yeah, I mean, maybe you wouldn't be able to pull your logs for those few seconds, but it'll be right back. So it should be okay.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Whoa, that guy's been skiing. Nice. All right. Or snowboarding. Yeah, exactly. It's for, I don't know about for you, but for me, it's all just rolled up under the generic term skiing. You're messing around with the snow, falling in the
just
snow.
like snow. It was skiing. We have confirmation. It was skiing. Okay. All right.
50-50.
So, I guess one other thing I'm just thinking out loud here is, when I think broader ecosystem, so Waypoint will build ECS clusters. It does quite a few things on my behalf, but in like the Kubernetes world, I don't believe it builds like an EKS cluster for me. So it seems like you still need to, there's going to be a mix of, Terraform or your infrastructure as code to kind of manage your environments. And then Waypoint kind of manages everything else from an end-to-end type experience.
Yeah, that's a good call out. It's not exactly one for one when you're going from one environment to another. And I suppose if you wanted it to be that way, then you would end up just like using an already provisioned ECS cluster and deploying into that rather than having it deploy one for you. But on the other hand, I actually really like that it builds you an ECS cluster because I like thinking of those as being ephemeral also. They're logical constructs. You're deploying on the Fargate. So there's, nothing about it needs to actually stay around. If your app is gone, then your cluster can be gone. So that's kind of cool. And EKS, on the other hand, isn't always like that. If you're deploying one app to one cluster, then you're probably doing it wrong. So you might, in the EKS case, it would probably be preferred to deploy that to.
Yeah, and just to build 1.0's case, ECS, it's because you have that shared control plane. You just take a slice, and so it's instant near instant. I shouldn't say instant ever, but yeah, it is a fast experience.
ISO Yarn says, I was looking into writing a plugin for AWS Lambda. Is there an official one coming? And reading the documentation. So one of the things that I noticed was there was already support for, or at least there was documentation for the idea of building an EC2 image or an AMI, and then releasing an EC2 and adding it to ASG. So this isn't even really limited to containers, it doesn't seem. And so then I can imagine going the complete, other direction too, and having this potentially start to manage Lambdas or other components.
Yes. I mean, to me, if you build now the serverless experience into containers and servers, it's end to end. Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, and having it be just that one shared experience that's the same for everybody, that for everyone doing everything, whatever it is you're trying to do, that would be incredible.
Yeah, and actually,
sorry, go ahead, Adam.
I just going to comment on exactly what Mitchell just said with the Lambda extensions now. That seems like a great use case to help bridge the gap.
Yeah, totally. All right. We got about 4 minutes left. We should probably wrap it up. Is there anything else that you can think of that we should cover?
I was going to say, I think that you can do multiple deploys in your Waypoint file. So, and if we probably don't have time for it, but if you toss in the ECS one, I'd like to see it deploy to both EKS and ECS with the same build.
I can see that. And there was also some release logic that you could build in. Like, I think the default is when you Waypoint up, it builds plus releases. But if you wanted to have it just build and deploy and get that new URL with the next version built into the URL, but not actually cut traffic over to it yet, you'd be able to do that separately by specifying a release. So that was really cool logic as well. Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, W. Shari. And I gotta say, thanks to the Hashi team for like surprising us and joining in on the stream. And we want to get you guys on the show soon anyway. We like to do the unboxing show kind of, ourselves, but then we love to have people on afterwards and let's get your take on things and kind of what the thought process when it was being built and the problems that you were trying to solve and sort of dive deep that direction. I think that would be really cool.
Definitely. Well, I think we're ready to wrap up then, huh?
Yeah, I think so. All right. Well, as usual, join us at containersfromthecouch.com. Like us. What do we say? Like us on YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube.
Smash the subscribe button.
That's right. That's right. Hit the alarm bell. All that good stuff. Whatever it is you're supposed to do, go do that. And we'll be back here tomorrow. All right, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you.